Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob, and I gotta say, day by day, this industry is making me ever more depressed. I miss the old days, right? Active Directory. I never got depressed with Active Directory. Right? I got frustrated at Active Directory. I got angry at Active Directory, but I never got depressed about Active Directory. I've got to tell you, with artificial intelligence at this point, I am just getting depressed. This stupidity is just going on without end. It's just, right? It's the gasps of a civilization, the gasps of an entire industry where they need something to be successful. And by God, they will dump every ounce of resource into any stupid ass thing that might be successful. And, it's just, I don't know. This stuff is really making me just like, I don't know, just sad at this point. So this is coming from OpenAI. So it's actually OpenAI's blog post or whatever. OpenAI and NVIDIA announced strategic partnership to deploy 10 gigawatts of NVIDIA systems. So apparently 10 gigawatts is the equivalent of like 3 nuclear power stations. So for artificial intelligence, apparently, just for this, it's going to be something on the order of 3 nuclear power stations. They did say artificial intelligence was more dangerous than nuclear weapons. And so I guess if we have to deploy this much nuclear energy to power it, maybe the byproducts and everything else will end up being more dangerous than nuclear weapons. Again, when we talk about AI, I just don't get this. Look at my face. I just don't. It's not that LLMs are not valuable. It's not that artificial intelligence isn't valuable. But you just look at the absurd investment into this one particular technology. And I have to say, the more I talk with technology professionals, by the day, they are ever less impressed with this technology, right? It's like, yeah, it's fine, but I stopped talking about this, right? OpenAI, they're closing a $40 billion round. Their round is $40 billion investment, to value them at $500 billion, right? So they're still a private company, a startup company, $500 billion. I talk about OpenAI, writing a contract with Oracle, right? And what was that? $300 billion? Like the one contract alone with Oracle was something like $300 billion, right? I just did a video talking about XAI. They're now being valued at $200 billion. Anthropic just closed around recently. They're being valued at $183 billion. We see NVIDIA, basically all based off of AI, being valued at $4 trillion. And you just look at this, and it's just, the absurdity is beyond belief. In that our society, that we are so intellectually bankrupt as a society. This is where we're dumping our resources. The idea that AI will save us, not hospitals, right? Under Biden and under Trump, every month, hospitals are literally closing. After COVID, after the disaster of COVID, our healthcare system is fundamentally worse than before COVID. Right? Our education system is fundamentally worse than before COVID. Our housing system is fundamentally worse than before COVID. Our retirement system has just been a disaster for a really long time. Food prices are going up. The basic things we need in our society by the day are getting ever more difficult to access. And yet the place where we have to put the trillions of dollars is not into housing, not into healthcare, not into appropriate education, not into child care, not into these things. We're dealing with adult care right now. We have a family member who's dying of brain cancer. Do not recommend it. But anyways, they need a tremendous amount of support. And the interesting thing is what a fundamental disaster the adult care system is, right? Somebody dying of fucking brain cancer, simply getting them basic support is a complete pain in the ass, right? But we're not funding that. We are not seeing the Facebook of childcare. We are not seeing the Tesla of hospitals. We're not seeing, right, the Google of education. No, what are we seeing? Ever more billions and trillions of dollars being driven into this AI horse shit, right? People that literally do not understand humanity, the worst of us, truly the worst of us, the least functional of humanity, that believes that somehow artificial intelligence is going to save us. Housing is for those other people, right? And everybody's buying into this. Everybody is buying into this garbage. Everything from these CEOs, to normal people, to politicians, right? AI doesn't feed us. Anyways, so now we have NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA is worth $4 trillion, right? They need to feed the fraud. They need to feed the fraud. What happens? What happens the day after people realize that this is horse crap, that this is fundamental horse crap? Right? NVIDIA stock is going to plummet. These AI companies, their values are going to plummet. And it's probably going to be the real precipice for us going into a complete economic shit show just because so much money has been dumped into this. And so the thing is, right, if you have a fraud going, what do you got to do? You got to double down on the fraud, right? If you have been able to swindle $4 trillion out of people, then spending $100 billion to keep the story alive makes a lot of sense. And so what is NVIDIA doing? NVIDIA is putting $100 billion on the table with OpenAI to keep the AI fraud going. And yeah, I mean, think about that. Three power plants, 3 nuclear power plants, 3 nuclear power plants that are not going to come online to make electricity. More or less expensive for you. Not 3 power plants that come online to create more accessibility to electricity in different parts of the United States. So maybe different areas will be able to spin up their own manufacturing or whatever else. This is 3 power plants that are simply coming online to feed the AI fraud. And with that, think about it, these are nuclear power plants that will probably be coming online. So that means all of the risk, all of the danger falls on the population, right? If a terrorist decides to drive a Boeing jet into one of these things, or a Boeing jet just falls into one of these things, right? The population takes that risk. The population takes that danger. The contaminated fuel rods and all that kind of stuff. Once the nuclear material has been used, right? The society has to deal with those byproducts, those hazardous byproducts, right? The companies get away with trillions of dollars, and the people are left with a mess. But anyways, NVIDIA and OpenAI today announced a letter of intent for a landmark strategic partnership to deploy at least 10 gigawatts of NVIDIA systems for OpenAI's next generation AI infrastructure to train and run its next generation of models on the path to deploying super intelligence. Because To support this deployment, including data center and power capacity, NVIDIA intends to invest up to $100 billion in OpenAI as the new NVIDIA systems are deployed. The first phase is targeted to come online in the second half of 2026 using NVIDIA's Vera Rubin platform. So this is interesting for NVIDIA. They're basically investing in other technology companies so those technology companies can buy their products, right? I invest $100 billion in you, and then you take that $100 billion to buy product for me. I mean, look, it makes sense. I mean, no shame in that. Makes sense. Quote, NVIDIA and OpenAI have pushed each other for a decade, from the first DGX supercomputer to the breakthrough of ChatGPT, said Jensen Huang, founder and CEO of NVIDIA. Quote, this investment in infrastructure partnerships marked the next leap forward, deploying 10 gigawatts to power the next era of intelligence. And realize, when we talk about this is one company. This is OpenAI. This is not Anthropic. This is not XAI. This is not Mistral. This isn't the Chinese companies doing their thing. This isn't Microsoft. Microsoft is deploying their own infrastructure. Quote, everything, this is the thing that just fucking kills me. This is the thing that makes me fucking hate these bastards. This is the thing that makes you realize how fucking syphilitic these pieces of shit in Silicon Valley are, right? Quote, everything starts with compute, said Sam Altman, co-founder and CEO of OpenAI. Quote, compute infrastructure will be the basis of the economy of the future. Fuck you, you worthless fucking piece of shit. Right? Because notice this. It's not housing. It's not food. It's not childcare. It's not education. It's not supporting the people. He's like, you know, compute is going to be the basis of the economy. That's garbage. That is the twaddle crap that we have been fed for the past 2 decades. Remember when data was the next fucking oil, right? They've got all of our data. How's that fucking going for any of us, right? But there's this idea, right? Everything is built with code. So that's what they said like 20 years ago, like the world is flat, the end of history. One of the fucking buzz phrases at the time was everything's built with code. Motherfucker, my roof is not built with code. My IKEA shelves. What do you think that was coded in? You think, is IKEA coded in C# or fucking JavaScript? You smart asses. Right? But that's the thing, right? They're so syphilitic. They are so fucking insane, fucking crazy, fucking psychotic, right? They will drain every ounce of resources out of our society just so they can get a little more money, right? Again, compute will be the basis for the economy of the future. Fuck you, it won't, right? And that, like, that's my frustration as a computer person. Dude, I like computers. I like computer. Look, I got that when I was like fucking 7 years old. I got this shit. I got the actual technology up here. I like computers. Like, I'm going to be teaching AI. I'm not anti-AI as a concept. I'm not anti-AI as a feature set. But we are support. Right? I think that's one of the interesting things, right? I started off in the Army. Doing electronics repair. And that's one of the things they banged in our head. We're support. We're support. Technology is always support to the people throwing lead down range. Right? We always support the people throwing lead down range. The people that throw lead down range, they are why we are fucking here. And if there's not people to throw lead down range, well, we all go through basic training. So here's your gun. Go throw some lead down range. Right? We are always support. At the end of the day, right? We support farming. We support mining. We support education. We support building houses and building skyscrapers and building ships. We are the support. That's it. Right? The moment the support services think that they are the important ones, they are the valuable ones, is when everything goes to fucking hell. And that's the problem that I see out of Silicon Valley at this point in time, is they think that they're the important ones. Again, if you look at anything from Facebook to YouTube to Twitter, any of these platforms, they will throw people away in a heartbeat, because it's not you using the platform that's valuable. It's not you creating content for the platform that's valuable. No, the platform itself is valuable. Don't you understand? You are worthless. You are worth nothing compared to the systems. Right? And they hammer that into us day in and fucking day out. The problem is that is not how humanity fucking works. Right? And so when you hear them talk about this crap, about compute infrastructure, it will be the basis of the economy. Right? This is beyond insidious, because basically what they're trying to do, they're trying to suck every resource. Money that would go to hospitals is going to them. Money that would go to childcare is going to them. Money that would go to improve our food system is going to them. They don't give a fuck who starves. They don't give a fuck who dies because they can't get into an operating room. They don't care who freezes their ass off at night because they can't get into shelter. As long as they get a couple of extra fucking dollars, right, for the fraud that they're trying to push on all of us. Anyways, compute infrastructure will be the basis of the economy of the future. And we will utilize what we're building with NVIDIA to both create new AI breakthroughs and empower people and businesses with them at scale. OpenAI will work with NVIDIA as a preferred strategic compute and networking partner for its AI factory growth plans. OpenAI and NVIDIA will work together to co-optimize their roadmaps for OpenAI's model and infrastructure software and NVIDIA's hardware and software. I do think this is interesting, especially when we talk about the geopolitical tensions between the United States and China. One of the things that we see with China is they seem to be pretty synergistic over there. Their hardware and their software and all of that, they seem to be building that in collaboration. So, yay for the US, I guess. I mean, the good thing about this with OpenAI and NVIDIA, and especially with NVIDIA now having an equity stake in Intel, this could be binding these companies together to work more synergistically together. So, that's a good thing, I guess. This partnership complements the deep work OpenAI and NVIDIA are already doing with a broad network of collaborators, including Microsoft, Oracle, SoftBank. SoftBank's always got to be there. And Stargate Partners, focused on building the world's most advanced AI infrastructure. OpenAI has grown to over 700 million weekly active users and strong adoption across global enterprises, small businesses, and developers. This partnership will help OpenAI advance its mission to build artificial intelligence that benefits all of humanity. Hey. When you and your kids are living in a cardboard box and your kids are freezing to death and going to bed hungry, at least you know that the United States is, supposedly going to have the best artificial intelligence out there. So yeah, the thing you have to understand with this, my frustration with this, is not the basic concept, right? NVIDIA and OpenAI working together is fine. That actually makes a lot of sense. Again, it's synergy there, right? OpenAI basically does the software. NVIDIA does the hardware. That makes sense. NVIDIA buying an equity stake in Intel. Theoretically, on paper, that makes sense, right? Okay, so they do the GPUs, Intel does the processors, plus they have the fabs. So now you have a company that has fabs and processors working synergistically with the GPU company, working synergistically with NVIDIA, with OpenAI, right? That actually makes a lot of sense from a technology industry standpoint. That's awesome. Again, if we're talking about $10 billion here, $20 billion, I don't know, maybe $30 billion. My issue with all of this is that they're going to bankrupt the rest of society for this fraud, right? $100 billion here, $300 billion here, $4 trillion here, trillions here, trillions there, all to empower an ever more homeless population. And I think that's one of the biggest issues that I see with our society nowadays is that this is where all the investment is going. Because one of the things you have to understand is like with all bubbles pop. All bubbles pop. Just how it is. But the nice thing is normally when a bubble pops, we're left with a lot of inexpensive infrastructure, right? So when the housing bubble popped, right, housing prices went up. We had the Great Recession. The value of housing prices dropped, right? We had houses, right? They had 15 years ago, overbuilt houses. So if you hadn't been able to get into the housing market or whatever else, right, it was painful for the people that lost the houses. But at a certain point, right, the price of housing came down. A lot of people who previously hadn't been able to buy houses were now able to buy houses, right? If you look at everything from railroad booms, all kinds of booms over time. That's the thing, is the infrastructure and things that were being built were useful going into the future, right? Basically, they get built for $1, and they essentially get sold when the bust happens for 10 cents on the dollar. The issue that I have with just so much of this, with what's going on in the AI world, is it just seems like funny money and funny math. I don't see where we get the cheap infrastructure at the end of this. I mean, maybe if they actually build these nuclear power plants, maybe we'll get cheap electricity. I think we'll just be saddled with expensive electricity. Again, they're building like Facebook. Facebook is building a data center like the size of Manhattan right now. And so if the AI thing goes bust, but like, do we need that much compute power, even for pennies on the dollar, if it costs us pennies on the dollar? That's my concern with this. I feel like so much of this investment is going into paper, right? So if I invest in a house, to build a house, at the end of the day, we have a house built. Somebody can live in the house. Whether the house costs $1 million, the house costs $100,000, or the house is sold for $1 at an auction. That's a house that somebody can live in, right? That is an improvement to society, one way or the other. When you look at this, it just feels like it's just moving a lot of money around and building these things. I just don't see the value proposition when it goes boom. But I don't know. Maybe that'll be for the next generation. Maybe for the generation after Gen Z, they'll realize, wow, we've got compute for pennies on the dollar. Now we're going to do something with it. I don't know. But anyways, that's my big problem with it. There's just too much money. There's just too much money going into this. Not enough money going into the very real things our society actually needs. Right? Our society is going to get run on food. Our society was run on food 5,000 years ago, and our society is going to run on food 5,000 years from now. That's what runs societies, not compute. Anyways, so what do you think about this? What do you think about NVIDIA investing $100 billion in OpenAI so that OpenAI can buy $100 billion of NVIDIA hardware? Is this exciting to you? Like, do these numbers make any kind of sense to you? I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs down. Call me amazing. Call me a not boomer, because I'm not boomer. Call me a Gen X. Call me a Gen X. Call me a Gen X grunge. Not a fucking boomer. I don't know. Say it down below. Do it in the comment section like a real alpha dog do. As always, SiliconDojo.com exists. We are doing the AI class coming up in Durham, North Carolina in the next couple of weeks. So if you can join SiliconDojo.com, you can keep up to date with that. And that's all I got to say. See you later.